spot right now, baby.
Okay. Well,
So,
let's hear it.
welcome. The first ever
Me and you, buddy.
Survival of the Fittest podcast, episode 1. Yeah, we'll do a brief introduction. I myself, Cole Hally, Casey Evans over here. And we've joined forces to bring you a podcast that collects thoughts of the past, observes the present, and prepares for the future, I'd say. And
Classic up, guys.
And with the name Survival of the Fittest, we're not talking about fits. We're not talking about war stories. We may talk about war stories, but what we're talking about is over time, natural selection. Survival of the fittest is the phrase used for any living organism to break through and to evolve and reproduce and better itself through time. And we have come from that. Right now, we're dealing with that. Right now, we're creating that. And what we do now is going to impact the future. So what we're going to talk about, survival of the fittest, that talks about obviously evolution. We're talking about, and fill me in, Casey, if I'm missing anything. We're talking about culture, society, a little bit of philosophy. We're talking about hunting, gathering, core to being able to survive through the times, which isn't a hot topic now, but it is an important one, hunting and gathering. What am I missing?
Well, I think those are probably going to be the focus of our conversations, but we also both of us have some pretty diverse and unrelated interests that we're ultimately going to delve into, like ancient societies and how we may have misinterpreted the human history, and maybe we aren't accurately representing where we come from as human beings. Maybe we were more sophisticated, 12,000 years ago, and we had these advanced societies that created all these amazing things around the world that we don't quite understand. And, catastrophe happened around the globe and we kind of reset, and now boom, we're back into we're in a different space at what is called the technosphere with the Industrial Revolution and weird landscape. I have this house made of drywall and all these synthetic materials. It's nice and cozy, and it's a blizzard outside, and it's awesome, but it's weird. And things like that, I feel like we're going to spend a lot of time talking about, and maybe the implications for somebody, including ourselves. Like this hopefully is a journey for ourselves to sort out how to deal with the complexities of our evolved human bodies with this weird landscape that we live in, and what to do about it, how we can adapt our behaviors and our routines to fit what our body actually craves. And that kind of ties back into that lifestyle of being out in Mother Nature and using our bodies to collect food, and using our bodies to overcome difficulty, and the reward system that it comes along with that.
Yeah, very clearly, we all came from the same lifestyle, and now it's very diverse as far as lifestyles. We have people in the world living extremely impoverished. We have people who are worrying so much about the shelter they've created and the color of the paint on each wall and the matching of all, and very lavish living. And there's so many different varying degrees of that. And we're worried about things that just don't really matter, things that aren't the necessities of life: warmth, shelter, food, water. That's it. With that, I will warn everybody, this podcast will probably teach you things you're uncomfortable with, but it also will probably cause you to piss your pants because we're going to say some weird shit and it's going to be fun. But also on that regard, because we will just be, a dialogue between us two, we very much plan to keep that data centric and not having too lofty of claims, as well as having people on the show to question them, their thoughts of existence and where we're headed, as well as different topics. We'll break down very specific topics through the scope. With that, we have lives, we have families, we have social circles, we have employers. So this podcast is representative of our views and not so much of the family line that Casey's from, the family line that Cole is from, our employers, which, by the way, we may sound so bad because our mics are being purchased from eBay, who employs me. So we got some good mics on the way. So stay tuned for that.
Yeah.
But keeping that in mind, and also religious views, affiliations with any sort of clubs, circles, or religious groups. We definitely will probably speak authentic to what we believe and will be aligned with our values. However, it's not representative of those things.
And the one unit, well, let's see if I can keep track of these. I'm gonna come out now as somebody with a little bit of an attention problem and a working memory problem. So I'll probably have a notepad frequently. But one thing I wanted to point out is that Cole and I don't agree on everything, but we still get along super well. He has a really open mind with the thoughts, where our thoughts diverge. He is super open to considering my perspectives on those things. And I think I hold the same openness and respect for his ways of his styles of thinking. But those, although the differences are big because of the impact it has on our lives, it's only it's some small religious or ideological things, minor things that make us different. For the most part, we pretty closely align on what we think brings value to this human existence and how we can optimize our experience. I was thinking on my drive home from work today, I wondered if I were to pose you a question, if this is how you would answer it. Because if I can put this into words, my experience is that I feel like I'm trying to optimize my understanding of this life experience to really get a clear grip on it intellectually. That seems to be like of greatest value to me for some reason, and I can try and guess what that reason is. But I was going to make a guess and say, at least the impression I get is that you may be trying to optimize your lived experience, your fulfillment, your impact on your family, and you're trying to optimize the actual living, breathing nature of your existence. And I'm really stuck, have been, maybe not so much anymore, have been stuck in the perception of what's happening. Understanding
a macro level, and I'm on a micro level. I think that has to do with a few things. I would say confidence in oneself is an area where I'm working at, where you've kind of had that dog in you for a while. Really?
I think of the internet meme that has the Costco hot dog and it says, "I got that dog in me."
Have you seen that?
I want one of those sweaters, man. Well,
I did see a guy who is eating a Costco hot dog for every meal for a week straight. He said
he's gonna be so hungry.
I think he buys more than one a meal. But he said that the toilet was an absolute war zone. Anyway, I wouldn't do it. Yeah. Okay, where were we? Holy cow!
You're just saying that it might be a confidence thing.
Confidence thing.
I'm not as focused on my day-to-day living. For some reason.
Because I feel like, yeah, man, like I feel like in your relationships and all that, you're like, yeah, I know who I am, and I've got that, and I gotta figure out what's around me. Where me, I'm like, yeah, I guess I kind of get that maybe what's around me, but I'm very worried about me, the perception of what my spouse, what my kids. Oh, and by the way, we're both family men. We both have a spouse, hetero. Kids. We're both hetero.
I know we may not have come off that way.
We're both hetero and have 2 kids. I have 3 kids, 1 in heaven, 2 on earth. That'll get brought up for sure. But anyway, yeah, I feel like I have a lot to prove to my wife and my kids for whatever reason, I don't know. So I'm just trying to work on that. So that might be why I put an emphasis on the micro level, or I'm just scrambling for control in my life. I don't know, but I'm trying to be aware of it. Okay.
I do think though that, I mean, an initial observation, something that comes natural to me. I do work in healthcare and studied biology and psychology in great detail in college and in graduate school. And I am very interested in evolutionary psychology. What was it about the context in which human beings became Homo sapiens that makes us think the way we do? And yeah, I everything anybody says to me, I don't know why, I just have that filter and I'm just listening. I'm like, what verbal cues, what hints are you going to give me that would tie your current behaviors back to some evolutionary selective route? And I mean, it makes a lot of sense that you would be biologically oriented and neurologically oriented to impress your spouse and children and live up to their expectations, exceed their expectations, right? To be a figure that they can trust, they can rely on, and you guys can have this unified relationship, which will ultimately lead to their survival and the propagation of your genes. If you had a perspective that was, I don't really care what my spouse and kids think, you're probably going to be in multiple different sexual relationships, and that's going to cause harm to the tribe and threat to you personally with other individuals in your environment, and it will disseminate. It will distribute your energy and attention to your children, because you may be spreading children across a larger group because you don't care as much about the perception and view of the ones you have right now. So you being hyper conscientious, wanting them to be, wanting them to see the value in you, who you really are, and prove yourself to them, has to be some sort of selective advantage,
Yeah. And I think I'd still like for you to give that kind of connecting our histories and what brought us together, but I will give a teaser to that and say that we're both hunters, and yeah, we might do a little bit of gathering too, but hunting is what we do. And we don't do it nearly to the point or to the extent of our past ancestors. However, we do it probably in today's society a bit more than what the average person does. So anyway, when I found hunting, I feel like that is where I knew in my head, I have to protect and provide. That's what I need to do. I figured that out for some reason. And I have found that my skills as a hunter, as I've honed them in, I'm providing for my family. I also have the confidence and the wherewithal to protect my family, the tactical. I feel like that's taught me that as well. So that's a very big part of my identity, which I've taken on full force is being a hunter to help kind of build that identity within my family, fulfill my role, which it's no wonder. I mean, that's been the role of people with my DNA makeup, my chromosome makeup for years, right?
We still need to test the chromosomes, but
still need to, yeah.
You might got an extra Y.
I might have an extra, yeah.
I
got a Z in there.
Cole's a man's man. And unfortunately, I looked at my ancestry test. Cole used to work for the Lord. He used to work for Ancestry. But I looked at my ancestry test, and it's like, you have a patchy beard, you're going to lose your hair, you're a loser, all those things. And Cole's just a freaking ball of fur. And I'm a little bit jealous about it. Battery's low. Consider change. But, oh my gosh. Viewer discretion advised next time, dude. Jeez,
on demand.
I can't believe that wasn't another shirt under there. I'm serious.
Alpaca wool.
But yeah, I charged my phone, but I set it up here to do the video, and I don't have a charger close by. I can move it, but I feel like that's unprofessional. I'm not the type to let my phone die, but it's 10 o'clock, had a long work day. All right.
Yeah.
But yeah, Cole and I met because we kind of haven't stuck to a singular path with this introduction. So I'll just at least say Cole and I met in college playing basketball together in Salt Lake City, Utah. And we only spent about a season and a half together. And when he was arriving at the school, I'd already been playing there for a couple of years. And one of our good friends is like, dude, you and Cole are going to be homies. And for some reason, that didn't really come to fruition. We got along. I thought he was funny. We played, we hung out a little bit on the trips and sat by each other on vans and buses, stuff like that, but not like, oh, this friendship's going to stick around for a long time.
Yeah.
And then down the road.
What? How many years later?
I don't know, at least 4, right?
Yeah. 3 or 4.
I'd already, I had another year of basketball. I'd gone to a few years of graduate school in New Mexico by the time we started hanging out again, right? So probably 4 years.
And I was scrambling to find somebody to go on a hunt with me my first year hunting archery elk, and I knew that he had hunted with a bow. And got him in the truck with me. And that was the moment. I feel like that entire time, no, we weren't successful. And that means, however, it was very successful in the fact of, like, right off the bat, we're talking about things that we didn't talk about anybody with. And we just kind of had that. It was just clicking. It was just, a machine working. And then he probably got afraid of me being too invasive.
I saw how he was in the tent and thought, jeez.
Oh, yeah, tight quarters in the tent. But, and then it's just kind of grown. And it really, like, there might be daily interaction or weekly interaction or something. But it's really like that time under the stars, around the fire, reeling in fish, pursuing wild game, like those are the ones that, like, those cut deep as far as the relationship. So
certainly.
Anyway,
let me just say one experience in particular. We were fishing in Wyoming. I think we were with another friend, Robbie.
Mm-hmm.
He was fast asleep, probably wet in his bed about bears because of where we were at. And that's a separate story probably, but Cole and I'd spent so many nights around a campfire, on hunts, on fishing trips, in tents. I had never had an interesting late at night campfire conversation, never stared up at the stars with anybody and talked about it. And and I naturally, as I've become an adult, have become a contemplative person. And and I think that was part of it. Is when Cole and I started to reconnect, it's like, holy crap, man, you care about life, and about life, not how your 401k is looking, not the truck that you're upgrading to. You care about how you're living, what kind of a person you are, who, the effect you're having on your spouse, and the sustainability of your current behaviors. And we sat there on the campfire, and there was this cool mist. I don't remember things very clearly, usually, just because I don't care about most things. But this was awesome. And there was this really cool mist. And I think I remember us talking about, I remember the imagery really clearly and the feeling. The conversation, you might have to remind me, but I remember us talking about natives in those lands, and how this is what they lived each night, day in and day out. This is where they slept. Isn't that right? Is that what we talked about?
Yeah, I'm sure.
It's been a couple of years, but
it always gets brought up. Yeah.
It was just such a remarkable experience, and so enriching and just energizing is the word I was looking for, I guess.
Yeah, I think, this isn't factual, but really, like, could anyone say that they didn't do that? That they didn't gather around the fire for warmth in the cold parts of the night, and all they had was the stars and the mists and the sounds of the wolves and everything around them. And like, that's what they did every single night. They didn't have books to read. They didn't have anything like that. And so I feel like I'm really quite a believer in past lives bringing down, like, you're not just a makeup of a physical DNA, but also like these memories of, reasons why we are frightened at certain things or cautious around certain things. It's like been passed down through heritage. And I feel like we're just hungry for it. And some people are open to it, and some people will go look for it. But in that moment for you, I would probably guess that was like a nice meal, a nice comforting meal that you hadn't ever had. And then it just scratched that itch for you.
Mm-hmm.
And I get that too. Golly, it's not like there really isn't a day that goes by where I don't think about primal living, Stone Age living. Like I do. Anytime there's a problem in today's world, I think about how would they have solved it? How would they have reacted? Would they have cared? Always thinking about that. So,
yeah. The religion in which you and I both grow up, they taught us to have an eternal perspective. I'm fumbling over my words. An eternal perspective, and that even came up in a recent religious meeting. They used the same thing, like, don't get hyper focused on the here and now. Whether it comes to forgiving somebody for wrongdoing, whether it comes to the temptation to pursue something that would give you instant gratification, you got to think about the big picture. And I really liked that. I don't know that I was ever really good at it, but it has come more naturally to me to think about the human existence perspective, the grand existence and timeline of human beings and our predecessors, and kind of have a little bit like the Buddhist religious philosophy suggests, like, I am just kind of lucky to be a little organism on this big old this big old blue planet that's just shooting through space. And I'm just here, and I feel like I'm the center of the whole thing. But then you get to a certain point and you're like, I'm not. And I really, considering the whole thing, I don't make much of a difference. I'm just lucky to be here and exist. And where I can make a difference, maybe I should. And that has become intuitive to me and easier to hold on to when I get all obsessive or anxious about little life things. I'm like, man, I'm just lucky to be on this thing, man. This is awesome.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I think this podcast gets me really excited because we've talked about a number of things very briefly on this episode, but like we could go an hour or two on like fire, fire, circadian rhythm, all of that. Like what did that mean? How can you replicate it today? If you did it today, what might happen to you in the future? I don't know. Relationships, family, roles. Yeah.
I never thought about that, man. I've never really thought about how we could mimic what did the fire represent for our ancestors, and how could we mimic that today in our own lives, where you don't necessarily need the comfort and protection of a I mean, animals are afraid of fire for one, but the heat that it gives off to you, how can we replicate that and get the same benefit in our lives with our families? That would be a really interesting investigation.
Yeah.
And we're probably going to cheat and use a lot of AI on the internet. But we'll do that work for you guys if anybody listens. I'm sure our listeners are actually probably getting ready to go to bed.
Yeah. Yeah, if there's any out there. Yeah, and just talking about health, and I think Casey's definitely going to be an expert in a lot of the factual knowledge of psychology and health. And on the other side of health, meaning what we're ingesting and like how to navigate that world, and toxins and substances sneak up on us, and the lighting and water and how you cook your food and all of that. Like that's a huge focus of my own family, my wife and I. But also I feel like one thing that maybe, I don't do a lot of things great, but one thing that I'm willing to do is like, okay, that's what we need to do. Let's do it. Like hopefully someone out there will get something out of this, whether it's entertaining, great. You want to sponsor us? Great. Depends on the sponsor. But mostly we're looking, did you say Jamba Juice?
Yeah.
They wouldn't sponsor us. I used to work there and I quit. Anyway, but really, if you can listen to this and get something out of it saying, I'm morbidly obese. I don't have any connection with those around me. I live on my own. My family is in another state or country, and I have no purpose in life. I just feel like I'm going through the motions. Like maybe there's something that we can offer to help one aspect of your life. You feel like you're connecting with the world around you and the people around you. One other thing I was going to say is we don't throw around, Casey and I don't throw around the word I know a lot. I would say it's safe to say we don't know a lot. Like, yeah, we may have certain beliefs that we were brought up in or have developed currently, but we don't know what's happening when our bones hit the dirt. We don't know any of that. Like what we know is history here, what's been written or what has been dug up from the earth. And we know how we feel. We know when we talk to other people, we know a collection of data. So we're just trying to like understand that and get a grip on that for the purpose of being a good person, surviving through it. Those that we love, bringing them along with us, are young, teaching them, raising them upright so that they can continue to push that forward, continue to evolve. So,
and I hope that I appreciate you bringing up the fact that I feel like it's probably a more humble statement to say, I mean, it's got to be right, but it doesn't hasn't felt like it based on my lived experience up to this point. But to say, hey, I don't think that is right, but I don't necessarily know what is. To say, I have a bunch of inclinations. I'm doing my best to figure out how this life, how I'm supposed to live this life, what to expect when my eyes shut for the last time, if anything. Currently, the way I think and feel, I hold my beliefs really loosely, because I personally have been kind of burned by believing things that I currently feel are incorrect, whether that be something political or whether that be something particularly specific about religion or all sorts of things. I held really tight beliefs, and it was painful to have them pried away from me. And at this point in my life, I don't associate my value as a human being or my identity with any of the beliefs that I hold. It's just data. And as I collect more data, I update my belief system, and they're two different things. My belief system and my value as a human being. And my value is a constant. And the data I collect in my belief system is changing every single day. And that is a huge relief to me. And nobody really threatens my value, because this is not, the belief system isn't part of me. You could threaten my belief system, I'll change it. You make a good point about, Gaza, should expand and take over the entire state and make it the new large Palestine, river to the sea or whatever. If you show me enough information, I might buy that case, and I have no problem with that, because I am not what I have believed up until this point, right? And so that might be a hard thing in some of the episodes, if anybody ever listens to this, to hear us talk so loosely about what may and may not be real around us. And especially if, it's my mom listening. It's my freaking mom. But
bless our moms' hearts. Bless our moms' hearts if they listen to this. We're
gonna block her on every media forum we can.
Yeah.
She's not seeing this. But I think at the end of the day, if they were also willing to open their mind and see what if an individual who has a rigid framework of thoughts about our existence and how humans should behave is really willing to open their mind and listen to what we're saying, I can't imagine any degree of disappointment being experienced by that person. Can't imagine them really listening to you and me say, we're trying to figure this out. We're trying to be the best people we can be. Help those around us. Understand what the future holds and how to prepare for it. All of these, really respectable goals. It's just not using language that we grew up with, which is very specific, is potentially alarming when mommy tunes in.
Yeah, for sure. Well, do we have anything else we wanted to cover?
We're probably going to do some duets. We're probably going to sing.
Yeah,
maybe
probably.
A little bit of rap.
A little bit of rap.
That's Cole's specialty.
Only if it's early blonde hair Eminem rap.
Okay.
So.
I didn't know that.
No. I'm sure that it's going to be a lot of Casey and I in the beginning, but yeah, we'll get people on. I will say we value feedback. The best thing Casey ever told me that first time we reconnected on a bow hunt, I think I was very under a spell at the time, so to say, kind of jaded by political environment. And he reminded me very kindly saying, you can't say it like that. What you can say is, if you have enough information that you could change your mind. And I have carried that with me. He had no idea. I didn't know that we were going to be as close as we are today, but that Like, I think about that very often. That was a good gift to receive. So with that, we're going to be receptive. I don't think we're going to block everything out if, once we have some people that find this to be valuable and have input for what they'd like to hear, or, offer corrections for what we have said, we'll address those corrections for sure. Like we'll take the input. We're not ashamed of that or embarrassed. We'll be quick to accept it. Anything to add on that point? We encourage it.
Yeah. And I also, I really do hope we get the opportunity. I get this opportunity personally each day in a clinical setting to talk about people's depression and anxiety and hopelessness and suicidal ideation. That's an everyday occurrence for me where I work. I do family medicine. And I saw probably 3 suicidal people today. And it's just it's such an alarming, but now, having been so exposed to it and my sensitivity has been diminished to it, it's like, oh, you are okay. That's, and I feel it, but I should be like, you're thinking about killing yourself, but I hear it so much.
So frequent.
I feel that they're experiencing pain, but I guess I'm probably not as alarmed as I should be. But really, I hope someday we get the opportunity. Maybe it won't happen, but I hope somebody actually hears this and is like, hey, I'm going to email these guys. I would love to have an email thread with somebody who thinks that they're down in the gutter,
Who thinks the world would be better off without them.
Yeah, I would love
this. Is a great conversation. Yeah, this is such a great topic, and that is never, it could be the worst, I could paint the perfect picture of the person that I wouldn't like, and I would never want that person to ever end their life, no matter where they're from. That's not okay. Life is valuable. However, why do people feel that way in today's age more than ever? Why is it coming out more than ever? Was it around in early human history? Like, we want to talk about that stuff. It's very, very important. So yeah, that would be really cool if I could help out. One thing I think, I'm very much involved in the capitalist society of all these products around us. A lot of it's noise. A lot of it, there's some shortcuts to get around it, but there's a lot of good things out there that can help people. And we have no sponsors. Typically, when you listen to a podcast, they say this podcast is brought to you by. We don't have that.
Yeah.
It may never happen. Or it could. This podcast is not brought to you by anybody. However, unofficial sponsors, I would love to give a shout out of cool things in the world that we find valuable that other people would be valuable. I think it'd be funny. Just to kind of a parody of what a typical podcast should sound like. So what do you say we wrap up with one of those and then close her out for the night?
Well, you prepare your sponsor. I'm going to give a real one. Because
what do you think? Mine wasn't going to be fake?
I'm going to give a real one first. Because my wife...
It's a shameless... It's called the Shameless Shoutout. That's what we're calling this. Shameless Shoutout.
Tonight we get 2. One that's very serious. My wife is a sort of like an Instagrammer. At least she was. She doesn't really do it anymore. She's got a really good business that's thriving. But we used to get a bunch of products for free. And one of them was Cozy Earth, like loungewear and bedding products. And they are the shiz, dude. The freaking shiz. I'm usually wearing them. I got like a couple pairs of sweatpants, a couple like hoodies, and they're made of mostly bamboo derived material. The bed sheets are the silkiest thing you've ever slept on in your life. Oh, I'm obsessed with them, man. I really do love them.
If you get too frisky, you might slide off the bed.
You just shoot right into the drywall. There's several dents in my wall, you know? But no, really, Cozy Earth, check them out. They're expensive. So I don't think we have a lot of well, we don't have anybody listening. But I don't know what sort of affluent might filter into this, but they're a little bit more expensive. But maybe for that Christmas gift, that birthday gift to yourself, go get yourself some Cozy Earth jogger sweatpants. All right, you won't regret it.
I like that. With that, shout out to my sister. I'm not going to say your name. You know who you are. You live in the state north of us. Because this might be a big podcast, might be a big deal. So I don't want you to be publicized.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
But she said, when you go to buy something, do it right the first time. And so, yeah, there are things that are more expensive. And yes, the price of nearly everything is going up. However, when you buy it right the first time, when you buy a good quality piece of material or service or whatever that serves you way beyond your expectations, that's a good investment instead of.
I agree.
So I feel like people, there's a lot of people that could afford that and maybe would just go to the cheaper option. So yeah, I mean, I don't think you necessarily have to be affluent, but
I don't have a discount code, but I'll get one. I bet my wife has one still. If we can, I'll put it in the description.
Okay. Yeah, my shameless shout out. I'm going to say this. You're going to laugh immediately. My shameless shout out is salt. It's salt.
Okay.
Specifically, here local to the state that we're in, there's a company named Redmond Salt.
Okay.
They do a fabulous job. And they have these salts that I'll use. I'll take jalapenos from my garden, dehydrate them. I'll make it jalapeno salt for elk loin, deer loin. Oh, it's just delicious. And they sell other products as well. One of them is Relight. I shared one of that with the.
They make Relight?
They make Relight.
Oh,
it's fantastic.
I was talking in the clinic today about Relight.
It's so. Tell us your experiences. Okay. What is Relight?
Relight, lifesaver. We're in the backcountry, sweating a lot. Balls are chafing. I didn't mean to say that. I've had a bunch of electrolyte solutions. We're on an elk hunt with Cole, and it was a long hike in there, and we did a lot of hiking in a short amount of time. And he pulled out a Relight packet in exchange for Liquid IV is what I have, which I like Liquid IV, but they are not getting, they're not getting a shout out today. They're getting a shout down compared to Relight.
Relight, so it comes from a salt company. It is salt based, and when you are sweating, the salt will help you retain your liquids, keep you better hydrated. That's the key. These electrolytes, the sodium, the chloride, that's the salt. And so, yes, they offer a great product there. I'd love to keep things unbiased as well, and kind of like preach to the maybe lower class or middle class. You don't have to buy that stuff, and also don't buy the cheap stuff because it's full of sugar and that's not good for you, and it's full of dyes and all of that's not good for you. Relight is good. However, just the salt is good, man. Every single day I get a glass of water and I take a little scoop of the Redmond salt, and then I grab a true lemon, the cheap flavoring, the natural flavoring from Walmart.
Good,
from Walmart.
Yeah.
Any flavor. I like the wild berry or strawberry lemonade. Those are good. So I have a little scoop of salt and put that in there. Tastes just like Relight. So I may have just cracked Redmond's Relight's.
Oh, dude. They're going to show up at your house tomorrow.
But what I'm saying is I like Relight. It's a little expensive. It is. Sometimes, I mean, you can get a big thing of Redmond salt for like $7. That'll last you half a year. And then you just get these cheap little flavor packets. So what I'm saying is salt is my shameless shout out, specifically Redmond salt. It's local here. I love it. I use it for all my foods, cooking all day. I use it to drink. I feel like it restores me. There's been health benefits to consuming salt and liquid early in the day to help things get going. So that's my shameless shout out.
And my perspective as a medical provider is that salt is not the big bad wolf that we were told it was growing up. Yeah, it causes fluid retention in somebody who is metabolically unwell, and doing a salt restricting diet might help them not be so bloated or edematous, right? But in a healthy person, salt is absolutely vital to your organ systems functioning correctly, hemostasis of your blood pressure and the concentration, the composition of your blood, it's so many things. And really that relight was, I couldn't imagine something being more perfect, just the actual volume of salt in it. When I drank that on the mountain, I was like, oh my gosh, my body could not be happier. And it was really quite salty.
Yeah.
But I was just like, this is exactly what I need. It was so refreshing, which was
so
surprising with as salty as it was. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Redmond. And relight is Relyte, relight. And Redmond is red, the color MOND. So we'll close out the pod today. Appreciate anyone listening out there. I will say, give us a try. We're going to be on YouTube. We're going to be on Spotify. We got things set up there. We're going to have accounts, Instagram, Twitter. Follow us, subscribe, give us a chance. If you know us, give us a chance. Listen to 1, 2. Before you give up on us, unfollow or unsubscribe. Tell us, leave us a comment, get nasty. Say this is bullshit. Tell us.
You tell us you want 1 hour of us verbally abusing each other while we play dominoes, and we'll do it.
Yeah, we'll do it.
I'll do that.
Or we'll just say, no, you're wrong. We don't want you.
I don't own dominoes.
You should leave.
I'm a Pizza Hut guy.
Oh, that's probably, I mean, if we were in it for money, we would just be consuming food and recording ourselves, because I've heard that's a thing. Yeah. It's disgusting, but anyway.
Yeah. We'd set cameras up in our bedroom above the cozier sheets and watch me slide back and forth like those streamers do of the weird girls that guys pay to watch. That's, we'll look at the evolutionary origin of streaming girls that guys pay to watch 24/7.
Oh yeah, that's probably further back than you think. All right, man. Well,
yeah,
beginning of an era.
I'm excited. I really am. I've told Cole that I'm built to just think about stuff and talk about it. I'm a doer compared to your average person, right? But compared to some really high performing individuals who I associate with, Cole is an executor like almost nobody I've met. And I don't just say that because he could play the role of an English knight who literally executed people, because he looks like that. But he executes on things he puts his mind to. And I am a very determined person, and I have high expectations, just like the rest of a lot of you guys. But my pastime is to let my mind wander and think about this crazy existence that we live. And so hopefully somebody, because I mean, I talked to a lot of people about the thoughts that occur to me, and there's only been one person in the last couple of weeks who engaged with me, and it was a young schizophrenic man. And that happens to be the case often. And that was just this afternoon. and his dad's like, well, tell him about the thoughts you had about this thing. And I just read his mind. I was like, oh, do you mean? And
oh, that's
like,
cool.
And I mean, not really, because that's happened to me a couple times. with individuals with schizophrenia, and schizophrenia is not a joke. And I'd be happy to spend an hour on schizophrenia. But the fact that those are the individuals who think, obliquely enough about the world. Yeah, not many people care to hear what I have to say, but I think if Cole is here to rein us in and just let me throw my little data points in about metabolic wellness and intermittent fasting and ice baths, then he might bring use to your existence. And I tell you some honey holes where to kill mule deer. You'll listen if I do that.
Yeah, you'd have to be a top subscriber to get those.
Yep.
Anywho, well, again, please give us a chance. We're going to be cranking out some good quality stuff. And I don't know, this is where we've developed the sign-off. Mm-hmm. Zarian Payton, if you're out there listening, he used to say, take it easy. If it ain't easy, don't take it. I don't believe in that, but that's always a catchy little sign off that he would say. Anyway, I would say stay healthy, and we'll catch you next time. Thanks for tuning in.
Sounds good. Have a nice night.
All right. Yep.